Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Drewski with Crypto Warfare and Conspiracies Podcast. Hope you guys have a blessed day, blessed week, and I got a good show for y'all. Before I get into that, though, I'm gonna do a little bit of mentions and whatnot. Okay, if you guys have any stories or you guys need prayers or anything like that, shoot me an email, cryptidwarfare@gmail.com. That's cryptidwarfare@gmail.com. And if you guys want to go check out like our link tree, go to www.cryptidwarfare.com. That should show everything on where we're located at Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff. And if you guys got any problems with certain things on your land, you could hit up CW Operations and Survival. You can hit them up two emails c.wopps@protonmail.com and then c.woperations17905 and just go ahead and give a brief description on what you're dealing with, and we can talk more and see if we can help you all out. Okay, enough of that. Let's go back to the shout outs on here. I support small town businesses, so here are the shout outs on that. If you guys living in the Tennessee area, you guys in any window cleaning, hit up Barry Hero Window Cleaning. They're on Facebook. They also have a website. And if you are in the Arkansas area, they have another satellite business out there, Berry Hill Window Cleaning. And here in Tennessee, one of my buddies, who's a cryptid operator as well, a good friend of mine, he has a business called Tier 1 Restorations. So you guys in anything, when it comes to power washing, anything like that, he can hook you up. He's on Facebook as well, Tier 1 Restorations Power Washing Company. And I got a good buddy of mine too named Danny. He has a trucking company. If you guys need any gravel move, mulch, anything like that, anything construction, concrete, hit him up. His business is called the Bearded Brothers Trucking. So you can find him on Facebook, or you can look up his website. It is vegabrostn.com. That's vegabrostn.com. All right, it's enough of that. Let's get to this interview we're about to talk about. Okay, I got an awesome guest. Her name is Christina. She's the head of the Sasquatch and Sourdough Podcast. I'm going to give a little bio on her. Here we go. The bio. Her name is Christina. She is a spirit-filled, born-again believer in Jesus Christ. Amen to that. She's also a wife, a mother, producer for Central Christian Baltimore YouTube channel. Also, most recently, a creator and producer of her podcast, The Sasquatch and Sourdough. And you can find her on IG and YouTube, and the website is launching soon, and we'll let her get to that later. May I introduce to you Christina?
What's up? Boo, 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 boo.
What's up, dude?
Hey, how's it going?
It was going good. We had some technical difficulties. Dang,
No,
man.
no, I'm not calling that. I rebuke that.
Name
That's
of
not
Jesus.
how this
That's right.
goes. This is
That's right.
ridiculous. I
So,
had this. I sat here for 2 hours all set up,
no, I'm so sorry.
and no, it's not. It's probably me just not knowing stuff. And I made my sign, and then I actually made it reverse because when I was looking, I told you I was like looking in Riverside
Yes.
to like just see how everything like framing and stuff like that, and then now I'm looking at it and it's backwards. So cool.
It's all good. Carrie, we're good to go.
Whatever. That's just the branding. If you've come to Sasquatch and Sourdough for any sort of consistency,
Yeah.
we're like 10 episodes in, so it's
Hey,
definitely
man.
it's in the building stage.
That's awesome, man. I
Yeah.
that's one thing I did like about starting out the podcast and stuff. It's very exciting. It's like God gives you a mission set, and you're just gung ho. Let's do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's good stuff, man.
Yeah, he
Okay.
definitely
Yeah.
it's all him. It's all his idea. So
100%, man. That's good stuff. Well, let's just get into this. So, how did you get into cryptids? Where did you start? Like, where did all this start for you?
So it actually started in like the library. So I am currently in like Parkville, Maryland, or Baltimore, Maryland. So when I grew up in the '90s, and I was a latchkey kid. So right down the street from my house was a
Good years,
library.
90s.
Yes, such the best music ever.
Yes.
We had grunt. Oh, just the best music.
Grunge.
So I know, right? I'll just go down. We'll talk about all this stuff.
Yes.
I'll get sidetracked really easily. Um, so I was a latchkey kid, and it was just, there's nothing to, like, there weren't, it's not like it is today where there's like tons of stuff to do. So I would just go down to the library, and basically the big there was a tiny little section that was just like occult. I think it was called like occult and folklore, or occult and like superstition, something like that. And it was like tiny. It was just like a little, like maybe one shelf, and I just was drawn to it.
Yeah.
Just something about it, and that's where I found just like all those like really like random encounter books, stuff like that. And then it would be like UFO weird stuff, and then it would just be right into like the occult, witchcraft, like all that like sort of stuff. And we were raised like Catholic, but my pastor would call us creasters. Like we would go like Christmas and Easter.
On Christmas and Easter. Oh, I haven't heard that in a minute. Yes.
He is something special. Yeah. And he'll say it from the stage. I love him. He's like, "All right, all you creasters out there." He's from West Virginia, so all you creasters. Pastor Larry, I love you. So yeah, we, there wasn't a lot of like spiritual. My parents were working through divorce, and I mean, it was just a lot of like all that sort of stuff. So that was like my kind of childhood background. I was the oldest. Like a lot of turmoil, a lot of arguing, fighting. And so I kind of was looking for something, obviously like church. I learned like in my experience from what I thought was like how it was supposed to go was, when you pray, like God's supposed to answer your prayers. So at 7, when I'm praying for like my parents to be together and for, whatever, and it doesn't work out, like nobody really kind of stewarded that and said like, oh, well, that's not how God answers prayers. You know what I mean? So I kind of really like lost faith at a super young age. And then just really like high school, I told you like before we were rolling, like we used to just like, I was a total like goth kid, just sitting in the graveyard, listening to Smiths, writing bad poetry.
Dude, the graveyard's a place to be, man. I used to go there and just take naps when I was in high school.
What? Really?
Straight up, dude. Heck yeah, man. I was more of like a emo, like almost like Story of the Year, all those guys,
Oh, how old are you?
38.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm 42, so I'm a little bit. Well, I'll be 42 in November. Yeah, I just missed emo. I don't know what I think I probably, because I was kind of more
I was caught between the grunge and emo. That's where I was at.
Okay.
Punk rock. So.
Yeah, so I was more like. I got really big into like black metal when I was in high school. So it was like the Smiths, black metal, just all the, that kind of, just anything dark and aggressive, and anything that would kind of like make people.
Like the Lamb of God, Cannibal Corpse, stuff like that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. That was good.
Never liked Slayer.
Yeah. That's more like thrash though.
That is thrash, yeah.
Yeah.
But I love that music. Like that was,
yeah.
I wanted anything that was like, I guess gonna kind of put up a wall. Like I wanted you to like not at all I didn't want to deal with you. No. Mm-mm. Like I wanted you to think I was gonna put a spell on you. Like it was that kind of before it was like cool to be witchy. This is like when it was like you were the witchy weird girl that like nobody like scared of you. I wanted that. Like I just didn't want anybody to, because I was really angry.
Yeah. Well, what's funny though, quick note though. A lot of the jocks secretly wanted to date you guys.
Okay, this is funny. So in my high school, I was so you have like the whatever it is, like the royal court and like the prom king and queen. So I wanted to be like in that, and when they put up like your pictures, I was just like, I mean, I would wear like ridiculous, like it was just ridiculous. Like I was like this goth metal girl, and I'm running for prom queen, And literally all of like the underdogs of the school like voted for me.
Hell yeah.
Because it was just like everybody else was just like,
Yeah.
Like, look at Stephanie.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, shut up, I don't even want this. Like,
why am I even here?
Why am I even here? I hate all of you. And then I won like the princess thing. And then I didn't win prom queen. But the guy that I was like dating he won prom queen or king, and then I just like totally threw a tantrum. And actually, Crystal was there.
Really?
It was funny. Yeah, I threw a total. I was just like,
no, I'm talking about he won.
He won, and this is why, because we had a friend who was on like the news. This is like so deep. It's such a conspiracy. Like he was on the news. It's ridiculous in high school. Like I don't even know why I'm talking about this. Like. It was like so dumb. Well, no, the thing is, like, this guy, he like was in charge of like the school news. He was somehow in charge of the votes, so he voted for the guy. He got like the guy to win, but he didn't get me to win. And I was like, dude, if we're gonna cheat, like, let's
do it together. Yeah.
Do it together. Like what? So I literally had like this, I don't know, scepter. It's so stupid. High school. Like I had a scepter and like a fake crown, and Crystal was there, and like I remember just being like, oh, I hate this, and like threw it like a total brat.
That's funny.
That's how I went down in high school. So anyway, I digress. So at that point I had no, like there's like no Jesus, nothing. Like you couldn't even talk to me. People would try like all the time to like minister to me, all that stuff. Yeah. I just could not hear it. So and now I found, and it's so fun because now, and it's cool because like I kind of had this like little bit of a career like writing like metal like blogs and like metal reviews. I was really into like the Baltimore City Paper.
Okay.
You can't find any of it online because they had like a crap like publisher, and there was like a whole big dispute. Like that was part of my like whole career. I wanted to be like a journalist. So I went to school, the University of Baltimore, for basically like poetry. What you do. And so that was a really cool experience. And so I used to go to like a whole bunch of like really awesome like metal shows. There's like a really big festival here called like Maryland Death Fest, and it was just like awesome. And I love that. And so now, like, that I kind of, like, so after I kind of found the Lord, it was like, oh, man, I can't listen to this anymore. Like, because I was listening to, like, I was listening to, like, satanic black metal.
Yeah.
You know? And that was just, like, it just, like, made me feel, it wasn't even like God was like, don't do this. It was like I would listen and then just feel really, like, sick.
Yeah.
Like, I know this is bad. So.
Yeah. Well, you ever listen to any bands like that now, but Christian, kind of like 13 Lashes, all that stuff?
So that's the cool thing. Like God just totally. So maybe let me back up because I'll go down a whole bunch of little like bunny trails. You have to keep me like.
Keep you focused.
So that's like if it's not my show and I'm not interviewing you, I'll just sit here and chit chat in no ADHD direction. So.
All good. We'll both got ADHD, so in on you guys.
That's why
5 hours later.
Yeah. What are we talking about? I don't know. Jesus. Like.
That's all that matters. Yeah.
That's why I sent you like a whole book. Like I had like a whole like slideshow prepared. So anyway, so high school, like just that whole, I was into like the occult. So that little mustard seed that was planted in the library of like, you know, just wanting different knowledge. And I kind of felt like I was getting it. I mean, that's just, there it is. That's the oldest trick in the book. You know, hey, you can have this knowledge. It's just for you. You know, you're special. Look at what this is revealing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that was still like something in me that loved research and reading and writing and just trying to like put together things to communicate. And so when I was in college, I didn't really, it was just kind of like, you know, partying. Like I met my husband. I didn't have any sort of, I wouldn't even say I was like spiritual, really. It just wasn't something that I was into.
Yeah.
But then when I kind of started getting into my 20s, I started getting like into more like new age. It was like, oh, okay, I kind of grew out, like, I mean, of like goth clubs, metal shows in college. And then it was like, all right, let me mellow out a little bit, you know, and get into like the new age stuff, which is still another, just doesn't work. Like that trap is fun because it just you're constantly like having to level up and find something else because it totally doesn't ground you, center you, you know, whatever.
No, it doesn't fill that void.
Mm-mm. So I still spent a lot of time, like through college and like when I was like dating my husband, just really angry and like really heavy, like just drinking, partying, all that stuff, like hanging out in goth clubs, and because I love the aesthetic of it, you know, like I've always loved like just that dark aesthetic, just all that stuff was just attractive to me. But I didn't really have, I guess, like a purpose in it. I was always looking for, you know, I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a journalist. I had a really good opportunity, like writing those reviews and stuff like that. But it just felt like every door would close.
Yeah.
Like nothing, I could never seem to get where I wanted to be. Like, and it's funny because I even, like one of my projects in college, it was a publishing class, and you had to like come up with a concept for a magazine, and my concept was like Baltimore Gothic, and I wanted to like, you know, talk about ghost tours, and I mean this is like 2010.
Yeah.
And I was really into like that whole scene and stuff. Like Crystal and I actually talked about a really funny. We went on the like worst ghost tour ever in Baltimore City. It was so lame. This guy basically like yelled at me and was like, he had us outside of like the Engineers Club, which is like the fanciest place ever, and we were just like standing out there. He's telling us this like ranting story, and I like look around, I'm like with my husband, and I'm like, dude, we're like standing outside of where people are having fancy dinner, like staring in at them. Like, we look like street urchins right now. Like, what is happening here? It was so stupid. Anyway, so yeah, I just kind of was, you know, just floundering in and out of like purpose. I really wanted to like, so after like college, like getting out of all that sort of darkness, I never really got out of that darkness. Like it just kind of always followed me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, so like some people, I guess it manifests for some people, like in shadow people and things like that. This was something that was just always, it was like a presence.
Yeah.
And I actually told this story on the Bump podcast, but like when I was younger and all the like turmoil was happening, I had an experience where I saw like my furniture in my room move.
Mm-hmm.
Like it would gradually like creep up, like getting closer and closer and closer to me. And I've never understood what that was. It wasn't sleep paralysis. It just wasn't, I don't know what it was. Like, it was so strange. There wasn't a manifestation. It was just like this, I would wake up and look and like the furniture was closer and closer, but then it wasn't.
Yeah.
It's really weird. So it's almost like poltergeisty, I guess, but But then again, you're 7, you know, am I misremembering? I kind of go back and forth with that.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a dream because I could always kind of like go into that state. I don't know how to really describe it.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like a flow state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like it would make sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, I guess after just kind of like, so this is actually really funny. So my husband and I, before we got married, we moved in together. We were still in college, and I was just we were both just kind of studying, partying, all that sort of stuff. And we moved into this house in a place called Overley in Maryland. And it's so crazy because, and Crystal was one of these people, but we would have parties, and 3 different of my girlfriends, when they would go up, so you would like walk in, it was like a little townhouse. So like you'd walk in, you'd go up the steps, and the bathroom was like at the top of the steps, like over the like the awning, or not awning, the landing. And 3 different occasions, like 3 different parties, 3 different people that don't know each other. Each one of those girls like came to me and was like, what is going on in your bathroom? Like, I felt like somebody, one said she felt like hatred.
Okay.
One said she felt like somebody punched her in the stomach.
Oh, jeez.
And then one just was like freaked out. And like, it was just like a whole thing. So that was crazy. And like, when we moved into that house, it was just like a regular family. They had like a son, and they just wanted to move like to Pennsylvania or something like that. That happens a lot around here. People just like kind of hightail it to Pennsylvania because the schools are better. So we met them briefly, and then we had like some of their furniture, because we were like college students. So they were like, well, we'll leave some of the furniture. We were like, okay. But there was this one room that was next to the bathroom that became my office. And it was like the first time my husband was at work, like we got the house, we're moving things in. And I went up and I went into this room, and it felt like someone just like grabbed me around my waist and like just grabbed me.
Yeah.
And like it was just like a almost like a gut punch, I guess.
Yeah.
Is kind of how I would describe it. And that, I had never experienced that before, and that freaked me out. And I ran out of that house, and I called my husband, and I said, I don't know what is going on, but I can't, like, this is crazy. Like, something's in here. So then from that, I guess I probably, and like in high school and stuff, we would always mess around with tarot cards, Ouija boards. Like, that's just, I feel like I don't tell that part of the story because it's so hard to like tell people about your whole, like, I don't know, this stuff's just always been there. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of grew up with it because I think it was just like the fashion at the time. Like, that's what we did,
Yeah.
So I did a lot of that sort of stuff. And so I think once that experience happened in that house, I was just like, okay, well, something must be here, and I've got to get rid of it, because then I'm getting into like new age spiritual, like I'm the one, and I'm an empath because I want to help people. Like, that's all the stuff that you're told. And it's like, okay, well, how can I help people? Like, I really want to legit help people, all that sort of stuff. So I was kind of like working on all that. And that's when you start like, oh, well, I can clean the house myself. I can get this out, whatever it is. And it just never worked. There was a lot of like drinking and kind of partying in that house, but it was never really like gone.
Yeah.
Like, you could still feel it.
Yeah, it still felt like that attachment.
Yeah. And so I guess like, so we moved out, like fast forward, like I just kind of floundered with spirituality, faith, all of that stuff. And when we had our son is when I think that's when things like really kind of, I wouldn't say like ramped up, but I went through really kind of just like bad postpartum. It was a lot, like it was just a lot, like with pregnancy and delivery and all that sort of stuff. Like, I just kind of like went through a lot. So, and I would go to people, like we would have parties like with like girlfriends and stuff, and like that's kind of like what we did. It was like, oh, let's get together and do like all of our new agey, like witchy things.
Yeah.
And we can cleanse like our, we'll get free from stuff. It's just like that's what you're trying to do. Like, inherently, you're not trying to like summon Satan or do you're just really trying to like get free from something.
Yeah.
And heal. is really the basis of like what I got into was, you know, I wanted to heal myself. I wanted to heal other people.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I've been to like parties where people are doing like Reiki. I actually thought that for a while I was going to be like Reiki. I wanted to like get into Reiki really bad.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, laying on of hands. Well, that's not Jesus. Like,
Yeah.
so, and it was also anything that was not Jesus, basically.
Yeah.
Like, that was, because I still could not, I mean, I would get angry with you. Like, I was
Yeah.
one of those people that was just like, you know what, I really don't want you shoving your faith down my throat. Like,
Yeah.
because where is he?
Yeah.
Like, that's who I was.
Yeah. Real quick. At the same
Yeah.
time when you were going through this, was your husband in New Age as well?
No.
Okay.
He's Rob. Rob, he's the best. Like, he would make fun of us. Like, 'cause
Okay.
yeah. He is like, you know, he's raised cat. He's got like a quiet, he's just a simple man with a quiet face. Like,
Yeah.
you know. And so we would be like, Rob, let's read your tarot cards. Like, oh, what's your horoscope? Like, what's your sign? And he'd always be like, oh, my sign's dinosaur, whatever. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Should have listened to your husband. My gosh, I should have listened to him, because he was just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That poor guy. I would drag him to goth clubs and.
He's supporting you, just letting you do your thing, I guess. Yeah.
He really did. So,
That's love right there.
I don't know. That poor guy. We had the stuff that we put him through in college, dragging him all over Baltimore. And so I got distracted. Sorry. What was I talking about?
You talking about tarot cards? You going to these parties, cleansing, and all that?
So I went to this one, and this was a really crazy encounter, because there was something like totally. I wasn't even going to talk about this, but like this is kind of where we are. But this was like a house party, and it was a whole bunch of girls, and it was, you know, kind of like, this is a healing weekend. We've got Reiki, we've got, you know, tarot, we've got all this stuff that we're going to do. And we got a house like up in the mountains, and it was supposed to be like a really fun time. Well, I was kind of in the whole time before we went to this. And so this is when I was like spiritual, like connected to whatever, whatever. I don't even remember anymore, honestly, what I was talking about, like, you know, back in those days. But I was searching, and I was getting something that was telling me that I had power. And so the whole time that we were planning this thing, and people are trying to figure out, like, we have this girl doing like Reiki and all the stuff and all the things, I kept getting this feeling. And like, I was like, we should do something to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, and so in my like, I guess in that paradigm, I was like, is anybody gonna like cast a circle, or like, do we have like, you know, are we gonna sage, you know what I mean? Like, whatever it was. And I kept saying it over and over again, and people were getting like annoyed with me. Like, Christina, shut up. Like, what are you talking? Like, even then I was like weird. It was like, I was like the weird spiritual girl that still was just kind of like, nobody, like, we just want to like dabble in it and just play, but we don't want to like take it seriously.
Well, to me, you were actually thinking ahead. You were prepping, thinking ahead, you know.
Yeah.
Thinking about the long game.
Yeah. And it's just so funny to me, because like sometimes when I think back, it's just like, I mean, it obviously like was the Holy Spirit, without me realizing, just like, not just like do something, like, this is,
be careful.
Do something to protect you. Yeah, be careful. So we didn't do that, and it was just, I don't know, I always think it's so funny, because they really just got so annoyed with me, because I was like kind of bringing everybody down. Like, you're taking this too seriously. Like, we're just trying to like.
Well, are we not supposed to? What the freak, you know?
Get energy healed. Like, I just never, you know, I guess I just never. And so I was also at a point there too, where I had a friend who was out of state, and she is an amazing prayer warrior, and I had an encounter with another friend who was like, you know, born again and like she would share her faith all the time, and I like I loved her, but she drove me crazy. Yeah. Because I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't want to hear this anymore. She was just like, I mean, those two prayed for me. So that night I was talking to my friend like that came in from out of town, and she I was just so mad at God. Like, I don't even know what set me off. I think it was seeing this other friend, and for some reason I was just so mad, and I just ranted and vented to my friend, and I blasphemed, like, and I was bad with that, like really bad. And it's so cool because like now, like, God doesn't even let me get upset over it, like, because I could just cry, like how awful I would talk about him. And so I was like venting and all this stuff. And so in that house, like, we have to like kind of put this in perspective, is like there's all this stuff, and there's some girl who's trying to pull negative energy off of everybody. Yeah. And everybody's got this expectant atmosphere, like we've set up to do something, and something is going to occur. And, you know, we don't really want it to be too spiritual. We just kind of want to, you know, feel better. Yeah. You know, like we want to heal.
So feel good feeling. Yeah.
Right. This is a I don't even know. I mean, I can't speak for everybody's heart, but, you know, I was kind of looking at it like, this is BS. And I didn't trust the girl that was doing it. Yeah. So and so I was kind of like, well, I'm going to like prove you wrong. Like, I'm going to prove that you're a fraud because I think that you're a fraud. Yeah. And I could feel that she was a fraud. And so I just kept saying, like, we should be protecting ourselves, whatever. And so she did this Reiki stuff on me. And it was just so, like, it was just such crap. Like, she was just coming up with, like, oh, well, it seems like you've had, like, trauma. Did you have a hard pregnancy and childbirth? And I'm thinking, ish, but who doesn't? Like, you know, I didn't die. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just kind of was like, that's kind of you pulled that out of your hat.
That's kind of like a generality thing. Like, everyone's got trauma.
Right.
Women always have crappy pregnancies because being pregnant sucks sometimes.
Right.
No.
Yeah. So I kind of just was like, whatever, like poo-pooed her. And then so it got to a point where we were outside, and I was with a friend, and we're sitting around the fire. Like, she and I decided to make a fire. And we would all do that a lot. Like, it was a lot of that, like, witchy behavior, you know, like, let's get around the fire and let's have drinks and let's, you know, we talk about the god, whatever. Like, just let's pull different pieces of whatever esoteric thing and then make it a culture. Yeah. Which I feel like a lot of girls just do, you know. It's like kind of a girl thing. And so I'm sitting there and we're like, we have this fire, and all of a sudden I got this feel, like I had my back to the woods, and I was like, do you feel that? Like, it feels like something is coming out of the woods. Yeah. Like, there's just something. Like, I couldn't see anything. And the only way that I can describe it now, because I know how to I know what it was. Yeah. But it doesn't make sense, like, if you describe it to some people. But I could, my entire spirit, like, felt it. Okay. It was just like this whole, like, something is lurking, something is watching us. Like, what is this? It's just, but it was like, I knew it was just like right here. Mm-hmm. It was just so crazy. And my friend felt it too. Yeah. So that just kind of, like, that whole night just, like, went downhill. Like, because then I was like, all right, well, I got to deal with this. So I'm going to just drink, you know. And I, like, so I started, like, bartending and stuff too, like, through, it's just kind of like part of that whole scene.
Yeah. Well, hold on real quick. Back up sorry. Quick. Okay, so on that thing you felt, so knowing what you know now, do you have an idea what you think it is? What it was?
I think it's like whatever, like just demonic presence was just like around me, like attached to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when you guys were out there, you opened up a door and it's coming out of that dark
Drew,
place.
we
And
opened up like 15 doors. It was
oh,
just
dude,
like, I mean, it was
you,
just like the crap coming out of Ghostbusters. Like,
yeah, you
we
got
had
yeah,
no idea what we were doing.
yeah.
And it's funny
Okay.
because my friend that I was talking to, like my Christian friend,
Hmm.
she has told, like, we've talked about this since like I started walking with the Lord. And she was like, girl, I had like a whole prayer chain. Like, I had my prayer team in, wherever, like Mississippi. I had my prayer team. Like, she was prayed up going into that situation because she had to be there. Like, it was something, it was like a family thing. It was like a
Hmm.
thing. So, and she was prayed up. But when I think about that whole situation, and she wasn't even, I think it was like a weird thing where she like really wasn't even supposed to be there. But it was just like, the more I look back, I'm like, man, that was such a God moment.
It fell into place, yeah, for sure.
Like, I'm sitting there, you know, totally bad mouthing God, and she's taking it. She's just,
Yeah.
letting me do it. Cause I
Oh,
mean, there
yeah,
was no ministering to me
yeah.
at all.
Well, I think that's also part of the process too. Person who's angry at God, like, because I had the same situation happen at work, and this certain gentleman, he had, anytime I mentioned Jesus, he just had a hatred for him. Then I
Mhm.
asked him, I was like, dude, what happened?
Yeah.
And then he just came unglued and just started going, and I'm just letting him vent, because I can't. He ain't talking about me. He's talking about the King of the universe, But you know, God can take it. It is what it is. He's King of the universe. That ain't
Yeah.
nothing to him. He's like whatever. But I think that's part of like the healing process. You needed to get a lot of that out. You needed to all
Oh
that
yeah.
stuff. And then after you were done, how did you feel?
Oh, after I like told her all about it.
Yeah.
Oh, I just totally released whatever that was into the atmosphere.
Hmm.
Is what I did.
Yeah.
Like, for sure. That's probably why the demon came. Just summoning demons, probably. Like that. I mean, that was just some. And I was really flippant about that too, because
Yeah.
I think that ties into like when you're really in that sort of, and not everybody. I know a ton of people that listen to black metal and
Yeah.
they can handle it. And it's just not a thing. And it's the same thing with Ouija boards. It's the same thing with tarot cards. That's what I like. I don't usually like hop on my whole bandwagon, but when I talk about this stuff, it's just like you don't know what you're playing with.
You don't. You have no
You
idea what
really
you're
just
playing with.
don't know. You
No.
have no idea what seeds have been planted in you.
Well,
You
not
have
only
no.
that too. If you don't get those things like taken care of, it
Yeah.
jumps to your kids. It creates a 4 to 5 generational curse on your family.
Yes.
If you don't get those things taken care of, it
So
doesn't
that
stop
was
with you. Yeah.
well. So that was like that whole like weird. So then it was crazy because like, so that was happening. Like we felt like I just felt like insane. I was like, this is crazy. Like something is coming out of these woods. I feel nuts. I'm just gonna go ahead and get drunk. And so that's what we
Drown
did.
it out. Yeah.
Hi. Like that's what I did. And then especially when you're a bartender too. I mean, I was like, bartender at a cool bar, like had the run of it was just like people come to you for help and, you have to set the atmosphere, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so when we were leaving and we were coming down the mountain, I will never forget this. It was like a weight lifted. It's like whatever that was just stayed there. So it was probably something there,
Yeah.
that just
Like
is always
that was
there.
probably like his jurisdiction.
Right. Yes.
That's his zone.
Yep.
And then when you guys left, like it.
Oh my
That,
gosh, I never even thought about that, Drew.
well, yeah, because if you think about it, you have like atmospheric demons. I consider like the demonic realm, right? Like entities. They're like nouns, right? They're attached to a person, place, or a thing, right?
Mhm.
So it can be charged objects. They can be land that they have jurisdiction over, which you went to that area, whatever the entity was, had jurisdiction over that area. Then when you left it, there was that boundary line. He couldn't go any farther.
Oh,
Yeah,
shut up, Drew.
you're welcome.
We just figured that out. I'm gonna go throw up now. I'm back. Jeez. Get the bucket. That's what my.
Get the Walmart bags.
Did you grow up in church? How did you grow up?
Okay, so
I'm interviewing you now.
That's fine. Go ahead. So I grew up, I guess, Catholic, but I was a creaster too. Me and my mom would only go to church on Christmas and Easter, but my dad, he I don't he didn't knowingly, but he was in like the metal scene back then. So Motley Crue, Dio, all that stuff, So he kind of created the atmosphere in that house. And then when he left when I was 3, it was just me and my mom. So, but we didn't, like I said, we only went to church on Christmas and Easter, and then every now and then. But then when my mom got remarried, the guy who introduced us to Christ was named Jesse Vigil. It was more of like an apostolic church, Pentecostal,
Yeah.
So I grew up in that charismatic thing,
I love
like Benny Hinn and stuff like that.
Yes.
And I'm like, this is too much, dude. So after that, years down the road, I was really diving into the Bible, man, and I really got a love for it, like history, scriptures, the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started going to a non-denominational church, and then after that, just being in law enforcement and stuff like that, like dealing with people, I was like, okay, there's definitely a spiritual side to this, and I started to dive into spiritual warfare, demonology. Started to learn about John Ramirez, the Omega Man, stuff like that.
Yep.
Oh gosh, he just passed 2 years ago because I think he got murdered. Oh gosh, I forgot his name, but he taught and dealt with spiritual warfare and like satanic ritual abuse and stuff like that. So I just dove headfirst into that.
Yeah.
So so dealing with that and learning about spiritual warfare and just on how demons operate.
Yeah. I never, and that's crazy because I do a lot of research and stuff, and so I'm constantly kind of learning about that stuff now, and the fact that I didn't even put it together that would have been like some sort of principality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ugh, that's crazy. Oh man, and I'm so sensitive to that. Like now, it's just crazy.
Yeah. But hey, you learn, so it's all good.
Yeah. So anyway, so after that, I think that probably really, it stuck with me. Like that was a turning point. Because I experienced something, and then I was like, all right, well, I got to start really protecting myself. And I'm not gonna it's not gonna be from Jesus. So I have to figure out on my own, like maybe there's, something out there. So I just kind of like I said, just floundered with like just spirituality. Spiritual, not
basically
religion.
Just demons casting out demons.
Just stirring the old pot.
Yeah.
So, and then I got really into after college, all that stuff, like before we had my son, but when we were like married, I got really into like yoga, and I got really into, I was like, you know what? I'm going to mellow out. I've really just kind of been down this whole road of angriness. Like it's really time to start like, working on me and working on my shadow and all that stuff, So then I went totally into bought into the new age.
Mm-hmm.
And just all of that, like yoga, I really enjoyed doing yoga, but I had such a problem with like meditation and yoga. Like I went to like a Buddhist temple, and I was just like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to be doing here. Like, how on earth do you quiet your mind and not think? That does not sound like something I could ever do. It's like the joke where like you spend like the first 10 hours trying to like figure out how to not think, and then you're like more anxious than you actually started. So like none of that. And then I just kind of got into that whole like hippie health, all of that jazz. And then I was like, okay, well, I have my own spirituality. I'm just, I believe in like nature and just, anything that's not Jesus. like at that point. And so I just, yeah, it was just kind of all this back and forth. And then we had our son. And it was funny because both of my mother and my mother-in-law are the Catholic, and my mother-in-law is like she's like really Catholic. And they wanted us to get him baptized, and I just kind of was like, you know what? I'm not raising him. He'll figure it out. Like, that's basically my stupid outlook. Like, whatever he wants, it's his path. It's his journey.
Yeah.
It'll unfold before him somehow magically. And so we got him baptized, and it was so funny because my son was like, his baptism pictures are literally, he's like laughing and having the best time ever. He's like the happiest little, like, and I'm postpartum, so I had so much anxiety. I just had the worst anxiety.
Yeah.
But it's so funny when I look at those pictures. He's just like, look at me, I'm a cute little baby, and I love Jesus. And so he really was the one. He was the reason that like I found the Lord. Like, I really think that God just used my son in such an amazing way. So, kind of fast forward, we had him. I was really, really, really depressed and postpartum, and like my drinking got really bad, and it got scary. Like, I mean, I would like black out. I was just really, because then I'm still like, I went back to work after I had him. I think it was like 4.
Yeah.
Like, no, like whatever, 2 or 3 or whatever. And so I went back to work. I was bartending again, and there was so much turmoil like between me and my husband, because then it's like navigating that, like I'm out hanging out, like working, but you're still having fun. It's like you're partying again. And so what happened was like so we had moved into a new house, and it's the house that we're in now, and it was totally different energy. Like, and so I would do a lot of that stuff too. Like, I would do a lot of like, okay, well, I'm going to sage the house and cleanse all the cleansing stuff. Get rid of all the bad energy. I did all the like sort of superstitious like rituals that you would find in any like Wicca book,
Yeah.
And so, and I felt content with that. Like, I felt like that gave me like power. Like, okay, well, if anything happens, I can protect us, and I'm here. I'm the spiritual one. And so like I'm just like namasteing everybody. And so like I got into this really bad habit, like when I would get depressed, and I think a lot of it was just anxiety, depression.
Yeah.
Because I was really starting to not have purpose. Like, so after I had my son, it was just kind of like, well, now who am I? Like, what does motherhood look like? And what does that mean? And who am I now? Like, I just really kind of got wrapped up in the identity of like who I was supposed to be. Yeah. And so I had a really bad habit of like just drinking wine while making dinner, and then like, putting him to bed, and my husband would go to bed or whatever, like go out, and then I would just like stay up and like listen to like depressing music and like get drunk. Like, he found me like a couple times like in the bathtub, like almost like just, I mean, I was just like suicidal. I was done. Yeah. Like, I had and it was so bad because there was like no reason for it. Yeah. When I look back, it's like I had this beautiful child, I had a beautiful house, like an awesome husband. It was just the stuff that I was creating. And I would hear, and I remember like when I would just hear, "You're not enough," all the time. Yeah. It was just this constant like narrative that was not my voice. And I think that that's like really important. Like, I try to, I guess, like tell people that like it's so important to pay attention to the voices that you're actually letting in and that you're listening to.
Yep. Trash in, trash out.
Yes. Garbage in, garbage out. Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, I mean, I would listen to that and it would just like be a catalyst for like another drink. Like it was just like, so like, oh, he doesn't care about you. He doesn't love you. Joe drink, this is all
Yep.
you have. I mean,
Lies
it was
from the
such
enemy.
BS in my ear. And so like one day, I mean, this was just going on, and my husband was done. Like he was like, you need to get your S together or I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Like, and you're not getting any part of this kid. You're a mess. Like you're a train wreck. Like it was like everything that happened in my childhood was happening. Like I was becoming. And there was just one night where I was so broken. I was just so broken down. And at this point in my like walk, I could hear the word of God. I could hear God. Like you could talk to me about God, because the New Age, I get it. Like the New Age is a trap and it's a total like counterfeit lie. But in my case, it softened my heart. Like for sure. Like God totally used all of that somehow and softened my heart, because I could hear people talk about God. And that was like a starting point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was like very slowly softening like my hard heart. So I'm always kind of, I don't know. I just don't, I'm not giving that credit, but God will use anything.
He will. He will definitely turn something bad into his blessing for sure.
Yeah.
He'll do anything just to get a hold of you for sure.
Yeah. And so I was listening to like these old tapes from like the 70s from like this one guru called like Ram Dass. Like a lot of like yoga people get into him. And it was really like just this ranting sort of, oh, well, the best thing you can do to save the world. Because then, in that you want to save the world too, right? Like not only do you have to heal yourself and others, but you also have to save the world and like take care of the universe and the planet. Like it's just all of this stuff. It's so much crap. Like, so much pressure to like do stuff, and then you just aren't giving any like directive or focus.
Yep, all works. That's
like,
what it is. Difference between Christianity and everything else. Everything's based off of works.
It's all works, and it's never enough. Like if you're in the New Age, I'll let you know, it's never enough. Fast forward. Just move on. It's just not. It's like it's a pyramid scheme, man. Mm-hmm. It really is. So I could hear that. Like I could hear God, and I could hear you could tell me about it, like about whatever you thought God was, and I would consider, and then it was like, well, I think God's the universe, and I think God is energy, and God is love. Well, that's true.
Yep. Well, you got some of his characteristics down. Keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. Like okay. Like so, it's it's happening. I can sort of get down with that, right?
Yeah.
So there's this one like specific night where I was just done. Like it's so weird. Like it was a stormy night. I was just so tired. I was weary. I was done. I was drunk. And I was just so tired of this being my life. And I was about to lose my life. And at this time too, I also had this like the thing is like I never saw it. But I knew it was there. It was just, I had this presence.
You feel it,
and I would talk to it. Like I would get drunk and I would talk to it. Like, and I would be like, I know you're there and you're not welcome here because I have sage. Like, flipendo, get out. Yeah. Like, I was just trying to whatever. And obviously that didn't work. Yeah. And this specific night, like it would always appear like, or I would always feel it in the mudroom. So we have like in my kitchen, it's just like, here's my kitchen, here's my island. And then over here to my right is my mudroom. And that we have a door and I can, see, and I would see something like, it was just like, I knew it was there. And I would be like, you're not coming in here, all this stuff. And so.
Okay. So you said you would see it, like, what would it look like?
I keep saying that I don't know because I don't.
Okay, like not like I'm sure like not like physically, but spiritually you can feel it. Something's right there. The energy.
So that's what I'm trying to like. I feel like now God is like really starting to work that out in me. Like I don't know what people mean when they say that they see in the spirit. Like I don't have a context for that. I have a context for like what I experience. and what I experienced. And it was just like, I couldn't see it, but it was there. And it was a presence, and it was the shifting in the atmosphere is the way that I can talk about it.
Yeah, you were freaking discerning it. Yeah.
That's like, yeah, I've always had that, like, always. And so I basically just like, I was just like, I know you're, like, I knew it was there, and I was having like just a crash of a night, and it was raining and storming, and I just like went in that mudroom. I was like done with it. And I like went, and it's like so dramatic, like it's storming.
Trying to handle business, yeah.
Well, it was like crazy because, like, you know, it's storming, and I'm drunk, and I like go in the mudroom, and I'm like, you know, like, you're not welcome here, you know, whatever. I'm trying to like scare it away, and then I just got down on my knees, like I like crumbled, and I said, you know what, I'm done. I don't know who you are, if you're there, but God, I cannot do this on my own anymore. Like, I'm done.
That's it right there. Yep.
And like, that was like, it's funny because like now, you know, in church world, we're always talking about salvation. Like, we want people to have that moment, and like, that was my moment.
That was your moment.
Like, that was it, where I was just like, nope, I'm done. And that's when I was like, okay. And I would like, you know, give my sister a hard time about it. My sister was going to a church, and it wasn't a Catholic church, so I was like, what kind of church? Because we have really culty churches around here.
Yeah.
So there's like one in particular that has been in the news several times, where I was like, are you going there? Like, are you in a cult? Like, what are these people doing? This is not Catholic. This is not what because I actually I went back to a Catholic church. Like, I wanted, then I wanted like spiritual community. Like, I always wanted that.
Yes.
Even when I was in like yoga and New Age and stuff, it was just like, come on guys, like, let's cast a circle. Like, you know, I really just wanted to experience like spirituality in a group of people. And so my sister got so tired of me like trying to like stumble around, like, okay, I gave my heart to the Lord, now what does that mean? That she just was like, oh my gosh, like, shut up and just come to church with me. Like, I'm so tired of you. Like, come on. Like, you're trying to figure this out on your own. You need to go to church. Yeah. And I went to like Central Christian in Baltimore, and it was like 9:30 service total. So it's non-denominational, completely different than anything I had ever experienced.
Yeah.
Like, ever. It's 9:30. There are like guitar riffs, and you know, like so I didn't know there were pastors at the time, but like I'm there, and I'm like open. I'm like, okay. It took everything, because that's the thing. Like, when you first get like whatever, like when you're born again, like you are raw.
Yes.
It is not, you know, like it's just like, okay, what do I do? It's like that scene in Step Brothers, like, do I give you my driver's license? Do I carry my diploma around? Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
You know, like, what do I do? And so, man, I went there, and I wasn't really like expecting.
Yeah.
You know, I was just like, all right, I'll see what your church does, your cult. Like, you know, I was ready to like be like, this place is weird.
You're already going there with the perception in your head, you know, and.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Like, if you didn't already like think that it was going to burn down when you went in, you know, you're so vulnerable. And it's funny that you say like target on your back, because that's how I felt at that moment. I felt like and that voice was still there.
Oh,
like, that's
it
the
was
thing.
trying everything it could to get you out.
Oh, like, it's not a magic spell, you know. It's not a magic prayer at all. You know, you have got to work out your own salvation. Like, you gotta walk it out. And I know we get churchy and say that, but
you gotta want it though. That's the thing. Like, you gotta be like what you said, right? Every person comes to that moment, and I think, and I know, and scripturally wise too, like, when, you know, you have to be desperate for God. You have to.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because that's when you're the most humble. Like, I got nothing. I can't do this. And he's like, you're right. You can't do this, but I can.
And that's exactly how it was. No, that's exactly how it was. I mean, he had to press me down. There's an awesome, like, I love worship music.
Yeah.
That's what got me. And God is so good.
Well, yeah, because he knew your tie. It's a funny thing. Sorry, I'm going off right here.
No, please talk to me. Don't make me just do this.
but God created us, so He knows our functions. He knows what we like. He knows our personality. He created you. He knows your love is music.
Yeah.
And
he's got a plan for us too.
Yeah, and that's what he used to, the avenue to get to you. He said your worship music. Anyways, keep going. Sorry.
No, it's so funny because, I'm standing there, and it's so different. Like, when you go from Catholic to non-denominational, man.
Oh, it's like a 180, dude.
So I was just like, what is going on here? Like, these people are happy. These people are, like, free. I mean, I could sense that.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like, I could always sense an atmosphere. And so those people were just like, but also broken. It was just like they were trying, like that was the sense I got. Like, okay, this is interesting. So I'm like, it's all these like cool, and the one song that we played was, I can't remember, I never remember the name of the song, but it's like basically like, this is what it sounds like when the church is alive. This is what it feels like when like everything in that service was for me.
100%.
And when I looked over to like, there's a stage, like we got like a really cool church, like it's really cool. And so like I look over and there's these guys like they're like got their hands up and they're jamming, and I'm like, this guy's rocking out like it's a Pearl Jam concert. It's 9:30 in the morning. Like people are on the floor. What is happening here? Like, and then I was like, so then it was just, the message was all about, like, what's the soil like in your heart? I mean, it couldn't have been.
Oh, that was for you, 100%, dude.
It couldn't have been more hippie. Like, and it's so funny now because, like, my pastor, so, like, I'm actually on staff now, and, like, I'm, like, the production assistant.
Yeah.
And he calls me the resident hippie. And I'm like, you don't even remember, you don't even know what happened. Like, you don't even remember that sermon, but it spoke to me. And I was like, wait a second, I have never, and this is it, right? This is exactly what happens. And this is exactly why people don't, I think, come to the Lord sooner, is because somewhere along the line, my conception, like my perception of what I thought God was completely opposite of his character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was never presented the gospel. I was never presented the true character of God until I stepped into that church.
Yeah.
Like, 100%. I was like, wait a second, this isn't the God that I've heard.
Yeah.
I thought God...
I grew up with, yeah.
Yeah. I was told that if I didn't eat this food, the good Lord would punish me. So...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing, and that was part of Satan's trap, is turning.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it sucks, man, but turning religion basically into modified lies and on what you can't do, instead of just focusing on the scripture for what it really says, what it really is, and God's characteristics. You get in all these man-made, just bullcrap rules. That's the reason why Jesus had to come back, because the Pharisees had over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rules added onto the Ten Commandments, right?
Yeah.
And then Jesus came back, was like, no, just this, that, and that, and that. That's it.
He's like, let me present to you a ministry.
Yeah.
Here's the entire ministry plan.
Basically, love God, love people. That's it.
There's no rule book. Like,
yeah.
I mean, obviously the Bible, but you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Not rule book. There's no, like, order of service, like, there's no, here's how you do it. So I'm glad that you said that, because, like, so it was just really cool being in that setting and, like, being in that atmosphere of, like, people, like I said, just kind of, like, totally on fire for God. So then I, like, did the whole, like, I raised my hand, went and got the free gift, like, I did all of the things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when like I really became discipled, you know, and starting to understand, like, I mean, I hate this term now, but it's like, because you're a baby Christian, like you're brand new.
Yeah,
And
you're
you
over there
have to,
drinking milk. Yeah.
yeah, you have to totally like understand how all of this works.
Yeah.
And so I, I just kind of jumped in. I had a pastor that just said, you know what, I was like, I don't even know how to like navigate this. Like, I don't feel like I fit in. Like, what do I do? So I'm glad you said like religious spirit. That's where I was going. Because what happened to me was I learned all of Christian culture. Like, I immersed myself in it. And I was like, well, I guess this is what I do now.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and that's, I don't think that was like really anybody's fault, but I think it was just that I didn't have any other like example. Like, I didn't have context. So I was just like, well, here's church people. I guess this is how church people act, and this is what I'm supposed to do now, and this is how I'm supposed to be as I'm a Christian now.
Yeah.
So this is how I have to be. And I had really good advice, like really kind of like spiritual warfare advice, because that was happening. And, you know, like, this is how you pray, ask the Holy Spirit to reveal things to you in your house, you know, all of that stuff. I got a better understanding of what that meant, to kind of like cleanse and really just operate with the Holy Spirit, which I find so funny because, like, I don't know, in this space, like, there's so many people, like, I always looked for like ghosts, you know, I always wanted an encounter.
Yeah.
And then, like, when you actually have an encounter with the Holy Spirit, it's mind blowing that we just don't do this sooner.
Right.
You know? But what happened for me is I got like a really bad religious spirit. Like, probably for, I want to say like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Like, so I gave my heart to the Lord in 2019. So 2019, right before COVID. And so then
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, then, because you said right after that you got like a bad like religious spirit, right? Well, funny thing is, I see a trend, and it always happens. People who are on fire for God, brand new, where they get the, you know, brand new baby Christians, they always go through. I call it a road, or like a roller coaster of like religious spirit.
Yeah.
Until something happens, like, okay, and then they get out of it.
Yeah.
Or some of them never get out of it.
Some of them don't get out of it.
Yeah.
I can't really pinpoint like exactly what it was that like broke me out of it. I've been doing. It's funny because like I'm kind of like doing a lot of journaling and stuff like that, like just to try to like get I had to do that when I was on Bo's podcast. That was like the first time I really had to like sit down and talk about my story. So I wanted to like put it all into like place. But I can't really figure that out, like how that broke off. But it was, I don't know. I can't really, like, there's no definitive moment, but it was really, I was just turning everybody off. Like, because I was just like, oh, okay, well, follow me, follow Jesus. And this is what you're supposed to do. And you're not supposed to celebrate this. And you're not supposed to do that. And you're not supposed to do this. And then it's just like, everyone was like, shut up, Christina.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, you're not, like, I wasn't, not that we're selling, but I was selling the same broken, lie of Jesus that I was sold.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't authentically, I guess, walking.
And that's the thing too, is that, like I said, people get caught up into that. It's not your job to sell God.
Yeah.
It's just, you just got to just love people and just live by the word, and people will see that and they'll make you curious. Then that will open the door for you to share your faith, to share your testimony. And that's simple. But anyways,
I think a lot of what happened was like I found kind of this area. Like I found this part of the internet where it's like people are like blurry creatures. Probably something to do with them, I would imagine. Like, where I'm like, well, wait a second. Because when I first started, like, walking with the Lord, I was like, okay, well, like, I'm Native American. Like, we have.
You
I
too?
have that. Yeah. Well, I can't figure out. We don't know what tribe. It was my mom's grandmother. Um, and like they apparently she was like treated really horribly, and nobody like kept any of the records.
Gotcha.
I tried doing research and stuff, but like I could never track down exactly what tribe. But anyway, like, so I was like, okay, well, what do I do with that? Like, do I put down that spiritual practice that I was kind of adapting? You know, it was like, well, what do I do with, like, I love the X-Files. What, can I still watch that? Like,
yes, there's a lot of like red tape, a lot of taboo stuff you have to navigate through.
Yeah. And so I really just kind of was, so that's when I was just like, all right, God, it's all yours. Like, just start directing me, you know. And so what he did was really funny. I was serving in kids ministry. I was all about church. Like, I just dove in.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Drove my husband crazy. Like, because I literally went from like drunk to like the church lady. And
volunteering for everything.
Just everything.
As the church doors were open, you're in there, yeah.
And so the funny thing is, like, like I did our whole relationship. I was like, okay, well now you have to come with me to church. And he was like, calm down. Like, no.
Slow your roll.
Your church is weird, you know. He's like, because it really sometimes it's a lot. It can be a lot, you know. It's not like super crazy. It's like we don't have flags. Like, but,
yeah, you'll have the tambourine lady running around, but you know.
Yeah, because they won't let me. That's why. It would be.
Oh, there you go.
They won't let me. I joke about it all the time. I'm like, when are we bringing back flag ministry? And they're like, you never grew up with it. So, anyway, like, yeah, I just jumped in and I wanted to serve. I wanted to serve God. I wanted to do it in any capacity that I could. And he did something really funny. Like, I was getting so sick and tired of social media at that time because I had like saturated all of my accounts, I think, with just like stupid garbage. Yeah. So I just deleted like all of my accounts. I was like, I'm tired of the person that I was and I am erasing her. Yeah. And so I was literally chasing my son in like the kids' ministry hallway. And I was like, dude, if you don't stop running, we're going to run into a pastor one day and you're going to get in trouble, which is like the worst thing to say because that's not how that works. Like, that's totally like my grandmother speaking. And I literally turned around a corner and ran into a pastor. And I was like, oh man, I'm so sorry. And I never really talked to them. Like, they knew my sister, but they knew that I like had a really, like, I was kind of on fire. Like, you know, I went and did everything. Like, I got baptized. I was just like, I was in all the things. And so, but I didn't really like talk to the pastors and ask for like, you know, counsel or whatever. And so the pastor was like, oh, hey, I was actually looking for you. There's a position open at church. Like, do you know anything about social media? And I was like, this is like, literally, I just deleted all my stuff. And I looked at him and I was like, I kind of hate it. So.
He's all cool. You're perfect.
No. And so he was just like, well, if you're interested, there's a position open. And so I got hired to be like the social media coordinator. So I've been there for like 4 years. That is awesome. And then that just kind of spiraled into this position now of like production. It was just saying yes, you know. It was like, and I went through a really bad patch of like imposter syndrome because God literally took me from hating him to on staff at church. So what do you do with that? And then I think that's probably where I caught that spirit, not from my pastors or church at all. Like, they're just so cool. Yeah. And they've seen that and they've been through it. So they're just they're like, we're not dealing with this stuff. But I never really, I guess, like, went to them with these feelings because I don't think I understood that was like a religious spirit. Because then I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm on staff. Like, I work at a church now. Like, guys, I work at a church.
Oh, I get you now. Yeah, you gotta be on the A game, 100%. Like,
what if somebody from church sees me? Like, you know what I mean? I really just got super.
All the pressure.
And then and then it was imposter syndrome, and then it was like, you know, I mean, that is real. It is just ridiculous, you know. And I think it's just straight from the enemy. Like, it's just
Oh,
like,
it is.
not good enough.
Yep.
You know, you're not good enough for this.
Trying to rob that blessing.
Yeah. Right. And so I worked through that, and I just said, like, you know, I was just really in the Word and just really, really going to God for everything. It to the point where I was, in my mind, annoying him, because I'm like, okay, just let me know. Like, you have to let me know, like, I'm a stupid little baby and I don't know, like, is this what you want me to do? Is this what you want me to do? So it was like trying to like figure all that out. And it's really hard, I think, also when you come out of all of this stuff, because nobody at church really has experience. Like, you know, like my pastors grew up in church. Everybody grew up in church. So then you're like,
you didn't
kind
have
of
anyone
that
that was
person.
in your shoes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was really hard, like, to navigate too. And so I just kept saying yes, and this position turned into like production, and, you know, hey, we're starting a podcast. Hey, do you want to be on the like camera team? Hey, do you want to, you know, just all of this training. I got all of this training that is ridiculous, and I am not at all anywhere qualified for any of it. Like, it's not something, if you were to say to me in high school, that like girl in the graveyard, where do you see yourself at 40?
Well, that's the beauty of it. That's and to me, that's the beauty about God, is that He used broken people to do amazing things. And there's this saying I love so much. It's like, God doesn't call the qualified; He qualifies the called.
The pastor that I ran into has that in his office.
Oh, does he? That's awesome.
So that's another thing too. Like, if you really kind of put that into perspective, I mean, that's just the obedience of my pastors. Like, that's the obedience of them.
Yeah.
Because they heard, that's just what that was.
Oh,
it's not like they were like, oh, I know who's qualified for this job, Christina.
Yeah. But not only that too, it's them listening to God's will, and also what came out of it right now. It's showing God's glory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cheers to that.
So,
man.
yeah, it's been like a crazy, everything that I wanted to talk about, we didn't talk about, because that's what the Holy Spirit does.
It's all there. Like I said, the floor is yours, or the floor is his.
He probably is just, he's probably just like, oh, look at her with her little slides that she's making, and she's going to write everything out and have it all planned. Isn't she cute? Like,
okay. So you got into this, you're doing that, and you're in charge of their podcast. You know, God's giving you all this ability to do these things and opening up doors for you, and you're saying yes. It's a good thing, and that's the point too. Is that, you know, God wants people just to say, yeah, I'll go. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll go because I know you're going to help me.
Yeah, I learned that really quick in production ministry. Like, I tell our people, like our volunteers, like, you know what? If you hit the wrong button, Holy Spirit's still gonna move. Like, you didn't break it, you didn't ruin it. And that anxiety, anytime now, like in projects, in whatever, when I start feeling anxiety, I go right to Him, because I should have gone right to Him to begin with, and I wouldn't have had the anxiety. If I'm operating in my calling and my purpose, and I'm operating in like partnership with the Holy Spirit, I should not have anxiety about anything that I'm doing. I should have total peace. So that's so really, I just kind of, you know, got like listening to all of these different podcasts like several years ago, and I really started like looking at, I guess, this space as, you know, this is a ministry. Like,
it is 100%.
No matter what everybody would talk about, like, you know, you can kind of see people like starting to come to faith and stuff like that, or grow in their faith. But because I have like ministry experience, and I know like when you work on staff at a church, and when you see what goes into that order of service and a Sunday morning, it is completely intentional, and it is completely like 100% just Holy Spirit guided. And it's amazing to see that play out in like just practical technical stuff. And so I kind of thought, God has just really been putting it on my heart. Like, I wanted to minister to people that were unchurched and like me, that so now you're in this, like, you like all this weird stuff, and you're looking for weird answer, or you're looking for answers to weird questions you've had, like, I saw a ghost. I don't know, all these, everything that's happening. Like, once I started seeing that there is a spiritual connection and connecting those dots through the work of this space, that's when I was like, okay, how can I minister to people that, might not necessarily like want to come to, like, because that was a big thing, like, oh, I'm going to invite people to church. Well, no one's going. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody invited me to church, I'd be like, okay, thanks, no. So you're not going to get them into church. So then how do you minister to people that are kind of on that threshold where they're experiencing spiritual things and they don't realize it? And then who do they go to? They go to the internet,
Getting fed bad crap.
So the idea, I guess, kind of behind like Sasquatch and Sourdough just kind of really evolved. Like, when I was on Bo's show, when I was on the Bump podcast, that was in March, and that's when God really started like just putting, because I was like connecting to people on Instagram, like, all that stuff. Like, that's just how it grows. And I realized that this community is so open, and it's so like, there's like, no one is like in a hierarchy of like talent or any, like, it was just nothing like I'd ever experienced, where it's just like, oh yeah, you can, I'll talk to you, I'm not an influencer, you know what I mean? Like, so I was really starting to like connect with people in this space, and I just kind of like felt like God, I thought, it's funny because I kind of thought it was going to be like, originally I think on Bo's show, I was like, oh, it's like scripture and sourdough or something, because I really started getting into like making like sourdough. So I thought for like 5 seconds that I could somehow turn myself into like one of those like prairie mom influencer ladies.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where like suddenly, like, look at my kitchen and look what I'm I'm doing this now, and all for
vlogs and all that. Yeah.
Somehow I'm gonna totally change my like personality and lifestyle for God's glory. And I was like, no, this is you just trying to do it again. Like, just give it over to Him and let Him figure it out. So
exactly.
Yeah, it just kind of like it just kind of started growing, and I made really insane connections and started doing research for people. So he'd started to, like, this is where I'm starting to see like the fruit, right? Like, he's taking all of my brokenness but all of my original purpose that he had for me that just got distorted and ruined by the enemy, and like, and the stuff that I was allowing into my life. And he started to restore it, and then just kind of slowly turn it into something that would glorify him. And so as I was doing all this research, because what I had to do is like look into hauntings, look into UFOs, look into like history of the land, look into Native American tribes, like, so all of these different pieces. And I was like, why is there no database with all of this stuff? Like, where is this? Because that would be great. Like, and so the cool thing is now God is using my husband, because my husband is like a senior software engineer, like full stack, like web developer.
Nice.
And he's actually he works on like some really like top level like websites. And one day I was sitting in the office. We have a big shared like family office. And I was looking at what he was doing, and I was like, dude, I was like, that's what we need. I was like, that's what this community needs. Like, we need a database where people can just do all the things and just search and like come in and say, hey, I saw this weird thing. But not only like Christians, like not only believers. I want everybody that whoever you are, you're experiencing this and it's real. Yeah. Whether you believe it is or not, you're experiencing it. You're in a supernatural world. You're a spiritual being. So let's get all of that data together, because what's going to end up happening is we're all going to have those like Lee Strobel moments where God's just the evidence is going to be there. Yeah. That's awesome. So that's really like the heart of this project. Like, but I also really just I want people to like, I really want to like talk to people. I want to hear people's stories. I want to tell people's stories. That's my big prayer. So like right now, I mean, it's me and my friend, and we're just kind of like, you know, sort of doing what we know because we don't have any like stories to really tell.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of doing, you know, like we did like Chessie and, you know, just like fun little cryptids and stuff like that. And we're just kind of like making it cute because I want to like set an atmosphere and a tone.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like what I'm building.
I gotcha.
So I just gave you like the entire about me when you asked me for like the about me. I was like, let me just give you the entire about me section of my website.
No, this is good. Who cares? What's funny is going back to what you were saying, right? The reason why I got into doing this podcast too and everything was because I know people have a story, but like hunting these things and praying over people, going to people's houses, praying with them, stuff like that. I actually have a team of guys that, you know, we're all Christians, but we're all law enforcement, military background, and all that, and we go hunt these certain things if they're physical beings that, you know, they're basically I guess, just messing with people in their homes. But the podcast part, I noticed whenever we go to conventions and whatnot, there was something missing. Of course, it was Christ, right?
Yeah.
And I noticed, like, digging into this, talking to Gary Wayne, Derek Gilbert, stuff like that, having them on my podcast, just diving more deep into this, reading the Book of Enoch and all that. There's more to this than a lot of people think there is. And that was the reason why I named it Cryptid Warfare, because it is spiritual warfare, 100%. It is. And
it is. And honestly, like, it's funny because when I was thinking, like, so I've been prepping for this interview, like, but not like just obsessively being anxious, but I've really been just seeking God's face and really diving. I told you before, like, we started rolling, like, really getting into like worship. So what I do is, like, now I walk around this park, this like trail that I love, and I just listen to worship, and I just like the past couple days, he gave me this kind of like, I hate saying like vision because I don't like to think, I just don't think of myself. I guess I'm so used to like that being a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like a vision. Like, I'm not saying I'm a prophet, like whatever, but like I could see, like, as I was walking through this trail, like the trail was so narrow and there's like all this, like, you know, the woods on the side.
Yeah.
And I could just like, for a minute, like it just a split kind of, you know, whatever, like I could see like down, and I could see myself like going through as I was singing, because I'm like a wild worshiper. Like I will, like I told you, like if the flag ministry was there, that's me. Like I just want to like go crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm doing this like through the woods, like I'm just breaking up the atmosphere and praying. And God like just gave me this like bird's eye like drone sort of, you know,
almost like an overview.
Yeah. And he just like put it on my heart, like, this is what you're doing. Like, you're creating atmosphere in production with the podcast, you know, as you're walking through these spaces, like you're breeding an atmosphere of me. And that's what matters. It doesn't matter any of the other stuff. Like, that's how you're going to minister to people. So like, I'm just trying to lay that foundation, and with his, he's given me the vision, and I give it right back to him. As soon as he gives me something, I'm like, okay, all right, here you go. I will give this back to you. And you will make it work. So, exactly. And I really just, I just want it to be this place where people can come, the website. Like, I want people to be able to come to it and just not only feel the presence of God, but also like be able to dig into all this weirdness. Like that's kind of like been the tagline, is like just weirdly encouraging content. Like that's what I want to create, and that's what I want people to experience. Like this is a place to kind of to suss those things out and ask questions, because once you start asking those questions, you can't go far without running into Jesus. Like
straight up, it always leads back to him.
Yeah. Always. And so that's just really kind of the heart of it is, and I also kind of want to be a space for this community. Like I've talked to other like podcasters and like people in the space where I just, you know, I would love to just like if you guys need prayer, like, come. That's my other thing too. Like, please, I will pray for it. Like, bring me the prayers, bring me all the stuff. Like, because I feel like there's a missing piece there. There's a ministry element that I think is missing, and I just kind of want to, like, you know, put my cards on the table and say, hey, I'm available.
Finally, jeez, though, I feel like I'm not the only one in this game. Thank you for that. Same thing with at the end or when I do my podcast, I always say, you guys need any prayer or anything like that.
Yeah.
Write me a Gmail, whatever, you know, because there is that one piece missing. It's Christ in this, and doing this for a while. Just like I was actually talking to Tony a couple weeks ago. Like you can bring people to Christ doing this because you have. God's giving you the opportunity and the equipment and the know-how and honestly the output of basically of just telling people about Him, because there's only so much like your pastor can do. But your podcast goes global, so somebody in India could be listening and be like, "Holy crap," and just have like that God moment, like you have. You know.
And that's really just kind of what. I mean, that's what I want for it. Like, I don't, and I tell him, it's so funny because I like tell him all the time. I'm like, if I'm doing this for me, if there's anything about this where I'm getting too excited about making these stupid reels or, you know, whatever it is, and I'm like getting proud, shut it down. Like, if it's not glorifying you at the end of the day and it's just me running around, you know, looking for ghosts, I'm you know, so yeah. I don't know. I just really think that there is like a ministry piece, you know, that's just kind of missing. I don't know how that looks, or I don't know how any of like what I could do solves it, but it just feels like, you know, after I like working on the church end of things and seeing how you're all these different ministries working together with vision and purpose and praying for each other. 'Cause that was another thing too. Like, I'm listening to all of these podcasts and people and the podcasters telling stories about themselves and ministering to people, and then I'm like, who's ministering to you? Because some of you guys aren't even in church.
For real.
Like, which I don't want to go there. Like, I'm not trying to be that girl, but it's just like,
but no, you know what I mean? You're calling it out. You're 100% right on that. And for people who aren't getting fed and they're emptying their cup, they're not getting filled back up. That's dangerous.
And that I started getting a real burden, like a real burden, just to start praying for people. And then I was just like, this is not how we do ministry. Like, you know, we have to, if everyone's doing this and we're, you know, warfare, if everyone's in this space, even online, in this algorithm, running around talking about warfare and stuff like that, then we need to start coming together.
Yeah.
And being stronger together. So I'm really hoping that that's what, maybe, I don't want to say it's a missing piece, but I would at least like to have it be a part of that, where it's like you guys feel safe.
Good. That would be good. Especially, I almost have like almost like a page of, let's say, podcasters or whatever. Like, hey guys, here's what's going on with me. I need my prayers. Hey, I got a question. Boom, 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 boom. You know, all of us just feeding each other, praying for each other, helping each other out. Be accountable.
Exactly. There has to be accountability. There's some stuff that I've seen where I'm like, what is this person talking about? Because so then it's like the other side of it, right? Where it's super spiritual, like, and then we're talking, and I'm not at all an apologist. I'm not a theologian at all. But there are some things that when I hear it, it makes me want to throw up.
Yeah.
And that is the Holy Spirit saying, nope. That's not right. So if I'm hearing that and I have the discernment and I know that that's not right, when the baby Christian comes in,
they're going to suck that up.
We're scaring the straights, guys. Like, come on.
Blind leading the blind.
Yeah. So there's like some stuff where I'm just like, but yeah, I don't want to make this like a church atmosphere, but it's still, it's that missing piece, I think, that
there's just accountability.
Yeah.
Straight up. Just accountability. And not only that too, there's this thing that my pastor says all the time. He's like, it created an urgency for me to make this more like God-led than anything, you know, and because he's like, look, we only have one shot in this life. Yeah. One shot to make it work, you know, for him. And he's like, you don't not want to. He's like, I don't even want to do it. He's like, I don't want to face God.
No.
And knowing like, hey, you led someone astray because you let your pride get in front, or you had other motives or whatever like that. And yeah, like I said, you got one shot in this life to do things right.
Or you missed an
Dang.
opportunity.
Yeah, we missed
right?
the opportunity. Yeah, just yeah.
Because guess what? If you don't do it, he'll
find someone else
somebody else to do it.
Find someone else to do it. Yeah, will happen no matter what, with or without you.
It doesn't have to be you.
I don't want to be looking at that train going away like, dang, I could have caught that train, but I didn't. So, but yeah, not only that too, I've had a couple guys on this podcast too. We talked about end times, right? Like it's the world's ramping up. It's getting worse. It's going to get bad.
It's wild out there.
Bad. Then it's going to get good. But yeah, scripturally wise, with Revelations of Daniel, Mark 21, all that, Luke 21, Mark 24, all that stuff. But
we're here.
Yeah, we're at the birth right now. So, but yeah, that's one of the things that caused the urgency for me to push Jesus out there a lot more, was because time is running out.
Well, that's the thing too. Like that's kind of what like God's put on my heart too, is like to minister to those people that were like me, but also like he keeps giving me the word like remnant, like just you gotta like we have to just get ourselves like prepared, like that preparation.
We have to.
But I was gonna say like one more thing. That's like so the whole like purpose. There's a lot of like ideas of exactly. It's hard to explain a website until it's like actually launched, because
I'm seeing it.
It's a whole vision.
You explained it really good. I'm seeing it.
Like, and so it's good. It should be by the time this. What are we like 2 weeks out?
Yeah, I'll probably drop it in 2 weeks.
Okay, so like by then it should
be next week, and then yeah.
Okay, by then it should be launched, so that it's like at least the loose sort of idea behind it. Because I want to like write articles and things like that.
If it's launched before I drop the podcast, keep me posted.
Okay.
Send it to me, and I'll put it in the show notes as well.
Okay, cool. But that's the other thing too, is like people are going and looking for all this stuff. So I want to try to manipulate the algorithms as much as I can, so that like, and use it, like that's like the nerd stuff, right? Like all the tag management, like all that, like we know all that, like how to do that. So I want it to just kind of be this like soft landing spot for people that are like not believers and were like me, where they couldn't really hear the word of God, but like they also see like really fun, like Beetlejuice, silly goth, it's just kind of like mixes it up a little bit, and it's not like this. You can be Christian and not be.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, is just finding things that you both like.
Right.
Movies, sports, whatever. Just got to find that common ground. That's the thing, is common ground.
But that's kind of what I want the website to sort of be. It's just like, okay, well, I felt, look, that's a funny little meme or whatever. It's hard to explain, but I just want it to be like a soft landing spot.
I hear you.
Maybe you came here to like put in your ghost story, and then you stay a while, and there's a recommendation for like another ghost story, and it's talking about like Dr. Michael Heiser's books, like stuff like that, where it's just like, oh, this is another way, kind of like, I mean, it's essentially what Blurry Creatures does, but they make it easy for people. No. Yeah, I'm gonna be better with my non-launched website, Drew.
I'm just trying to give you a little bit of a, not this, guys.
Oh man. So yeah, that's just kind of it. Like I really just, I don't know. I want to see what God's gonna do with it. So.
That's good, man. Exciting times.
Yeah. So. And this is like the first time we're not even on camera. Like it's audio only.
Well, yes, but you are on camera.
No, I mean, now obviously, but like that's like going forward, I'm probably just gonna have to start doing that. Like, I don't mind like being like talking to people. It's kind of weird not doing that, especially like when you're face to face with somebody. So, so yeah, like if anybody has any experiences or I don't know, just whatever. If you like what I've pitched to you, write in.
Go there. Well, cool beans. Other than that, yeah, we're coming up on almost on
Yeah, wow, this
almost
is a
going on
lot.
2 hours. That's
Jeez
good
Louise.
stuff, girl. Good stuff. That's what I'm talking about. What advice can you give to the listeners?
Like, just generally?
Well,
Like,
let's say,
don't take any wooden nickels.
I'm trying to think about this.
That's
Okay.
what my Nana would say.
Yeah. What advice can you give? Because everyone who listens to this is searching for truth. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
What advice can you give to listeners who are searching for truth?
Oh, that's a good one.
I know it's a loaded question.
I mean, you can try to keep doing it in your own strength, but it's not going to work. So you might as well just give it to God. Like, I struggle saying this because I don't know if it's like a good thing to say or not, but like I tell people like I dare you. Like, I dare you. I kind of double dog dare you. Just go and see what happens. Yeah. Go see what happens right now. Or like the next time that you have, the kids are a mess and you are reaching for wine, what happens if you were like, you know what, God, I don't even know if you're here, but I don't want to do this. This is probably a bad choice. Like, ask him.
Yeah.
I always want to say like test him, but I don't think that that's a good thing to say. Like, it's not really testing him. It's just kind of like daring and challenging yourself to actually just do it.
Yeah. Go see what he's about.
Just go, yeah. Like, cut to the chase.
Yeah, that's one thing. I was talking to one of my buddies at work. Like, he's an atheist, but he's actually searching for truth. I was like, look, dude, I know you like to read books. Just do me the favor. Take 1 year, just 1 year, man. Read the Bible, non-biased for what it is, word for word, verse for verse, line by line, chapter by chapter.
Yeah.
And by the end of the year, you tell me what happens. I guarantee God's going to change you, man. As long as you keep that open mind and you're searching for truth, and you're humble about it, and you don't go in biased, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah. What's the one book where everybody like gets to it's like all the names? Is it Numbers?
Oh, it's Numbers. Yeah, Numbers.
That's it. My pastor has a joke about that. He always says that. Like, I tell people to read the Bible, like start it from like, the beginning to the end, and then they get to Numbers and they're like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
it's pretty
why am I here? What is this? So start in John. How about that? Let's start in John.
Yeah.
Like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Get your foundations in Christ right and work your way. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But girl, this has been good.
Hey, if you ever want to have me on to like talk about like not myself and like talk about stuff, I will totally come back on to like talk about stuff.
Oh yeah,
that's like not me.
I'll definitely have you back on for sure, man.
I'm not like I don't like, if I start talking about myself, I ramble and it's like.
That's one thing I do like is I like seeing where people go, and the reason why I do that because I really like seeing what God does. You know what I'm saying? If I have something structured, like I really don't like, I do, like I have notes and stuff. I try to keep people on track, but if I start to feel and I start to see if God's moving, I'm just like, go ahead, man.
Oh yeah.
Do your thing,
Yeah.
So.
It's just like, for me, it's like subject matter. If the subject is like me or what I'm doing, I'm just like, But if it's like something else, like let's talk about werewolves all day, I'll have a whole presentation for you. Like,
sweetness.
Cool.
Yeah. But I'll definitely do. I'll invite you on. I'll probably do like a round table or something like that. So.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So and then
or
I'll
like
go ahead.
A swap, like cast or whatever.
Or like a pod swap.
Is that what that's called?
I call them pod swaps.
Swap cast. I always say swamp. I want to say swamp cast. That sounds terrible.
Sounds like swamp ass.
No. Don't invite me to that, please.
Yeah, I know, right? It's a bad day. It's a bad, hot working day. But other than that, where can people find you if they need to go to hold you? Like, where are you plugged in at?
I'm always on Instagram, like detrimentally, so it's terrible. But Instagram, Sasquatch _and_ sourdough. On Instagram. I'm not on Facebook. I can't stand that app. And then YouTube. But like mostly engagement is going to be like DMing me or just like Instagram. And then also if you have like a story or you just want to chat, say hi, need prayer, I'm here. Sasquatch and sourdough at gmail.com.
Awesome.
And the website's coming soon.
Yes, I will plug all that in the show notes. And
that's sasquatchandsourdough.com.
I was going to say, you got a website?
Yes. I have a domain name. Nobody has it. There's like one, if you go on Instagram and it's like you put in like Sasquatch Sourdough, there's like a sourdough company that I think is called, it's something like that. But I don't know. I feel sorry for the people that come here and they want like bread advice because I'm terrible at sourdough. I've given up like 4 times.
What's funny, man, is that when I was reading your thing, I was like, man, I really want to go to a bakery right now. I'm hungry.
Well, I don't know how to cook or make bread. So, no, I do, but like, no. Don't come here for that advice.
That's funny. That's awesome. All right, on Christina, I appreciate you, and I'll definitely be praying for you. Hopefully, God is moving, and it's gonna be
awesome.
it's gonna be amazing to see what He does with you. So it's good stuff.
I'm excited,
and I will definitely sling people your way on interviews.
Yeah, if you like come across anybody, like
I've already got 5 people in mind. So.
Oh, good! Yay!
Yeah, so I will definitely send them your way ASAP. After we get off here, I'll send them your way.
Yeah,
but don't go anywhere.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, do you want to chat afterwards or?
Yeah, we'll chat for a little bit.
Okay.
But that's all I got. So.
All right. Bye, guys.
That was a good one. All right, guys,
Yay.
You heard from Christina. If you guys want to get a hold of her, I'll put everything in the show notes. So, anyways, I hope you guys got a blessed week. You guys need any prayer or anything? You guys got any experiences? You can find me on Instagram, Cryptid Warfare, or you can write me an email, cryptidwarfare@gmail.com. That's cryptidwarfare@gmail.com. And that's all I got. So, guys, remember Ephesians 6:12. We're not wrestling against flesh and blood, but against principalities and rulers of this age. So, stay prayed up, guys. Lean on God. And I hope you guys have a blessed week. And let me know if you need anything. Later.
Later, Gators.